All right, hi, this is Adkin, and welcome to Railway Empire 2 Fundamentals Designs That Work. This episode, we're going to do a design we're going to call Barn Dance Plus One. Now, barn dance is a reference to country warehouses, which several of you like to play with, and we're going to use those. And I'm going to call it Plus One. If you'll remember in your etiquette, plus one is when you get an invitation to something, some kind of fancy do, a wedding or a reception or whatever, and you're allowed to add you plus a guest, and that's your plus one is your guest. But we're going to have a guest in our cluster this time. So we're going to grow the two cities of Washington and Philadelphia. So here's a situation where we have meat and we have cloth, but there's no beer. And there's no beer around really handy. I mean, obviously we could get Charlottesville and, plug them in, but they're already participating in our nice little Virginia 3-city cluster here. That's going very nicely with our one city, one train setup that we've got going down here. So we're going to conquer the situation where you've got two of your three goods and no real clear path to get a third one into your cluster. But what we're going to do is take advantage of the fact that we tend to overproduce beer and we tend to overproduce meat, right? We always seem to have a lot of meat, a lot of beer to export. So we're going to use the beer in Pittsburgh to feed Philadelphia and Washington. That's our plus one. So Pittsburgh is still going to be an active participant in this 3-city cluster right here with Louisville and Parkersburg. But we're going to take advantage of that extra beer to help grow Philadelphia and Washington. All right, so what we're going to do is set up, and the reason I'm calling this a barn dance is for those of you who didn't grow up in 1800s America, which that would be, I guess, all of us, they used to have these things called barn dances, and still do, I think, in certain rural areas. But you have a barn dance where you would decorate a barn, clean it out first, hopefully take the smell out, or most of it. Put up some decorations, get some refreshments, maybe some alcohol going, and have like a barn dance and have all the people come for the big social. So we're going to have a barn dance in with a couple of barns and a couple of warehouses. So what we're going to do is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this up and I'm going to come back and tell you all about it. All right, so we're back. Now, this one I love, and it has come out very nicely, I think. I haven't seen it run yet. We're going to watch that together. But there are a couple of things about this one I love. First of all, let me just show you the barn dance part of this. We have a Maryland barn, and in that Maryland barn, and this might technically be southern Pennsylvania, but we're calling it Maryland. We've got a Maryland barn here, and that Maryland barn has lumber, sugar, meat, cloth, vegetables, fruit, and clothing, right? So it's got the lumber by default, and then it has a warehouse in it right here that takes in meat, sugar, cloth, vegetables, fruit, and clothing. Clothing is a down the road product, but that'll come a little bit later, okay? And so there's 7 items there that you can get out of that warehouse, the Maryland barn. And we have a line directly to a freight station in Philadelphia and a line directly to a freight station in Washington, D.C. And what we're going to do in a deference to or in honor of, however you want to think of it, our buddy Steve, he likes to run full out of these, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to have run full lines that come out of like this platform here that runs over to Philadelphia, that runs full out of this warehouse setup to take items from here to Philadelphia, and when it comes back, it will take the meat into the warehouse. Similarly, out of this platform here, we're going to have a run full line that goes down to Washington, D.C., takes stuff out of here, and brings back the cloth from Washington, D.C. to the warehouse. Now, if we didn't have this set on a raw material that they need right away, like lumber, then we would run the lines the opposite way. We would start in DC and run, and we probably, we probably wouldn't run full at all. We'd probably just say start here, go up here, come back. But because we have lumber, they're both going to need it. They'll both get a run here, and then they'll both get a run coming back with meat and cloth, and that'll keep the thing going. So we got that. Then we've got veggies coming into there, right? And we've got sugar. Now the sugar, I should say, we've got this like Virginia vegetables down here. And we could run that in directly to over here, but the problem is it's kind of clumsy to cross this. So I thought I'd take an opportunity to show you something else you can do, which is kind of piggyback your warehouses out in the country. So we've got right here, we have a warehouse in the Maryland Sugar Vegetables, which holds vegetables. Now it automatically picks up the sugar because it's connected to it, right? And what we have is a line that's going to run full from Virginia Vegetables up to the Maryland Sugar Vegetables warehouse and load vegetables in there that would then be taken over there by the delivery line that we're going to set up or have set up between this Maryland Sugar Vegetables and the Maryland barn. Okay, so we've got sugar and vegetables coming in there. We've already got lumber. We'll have meat. We'll have cloth. And then the only other one that's left would be the clothing. That'll come later. The plan is to put clothing in Washington, D.C. and have it taken up to the warehouse to be able to get it over to Philadelphia. We've also got direct line Maryland wool into D.C. to support the cloth. We've got the Virginia fruit here with a dedicated line running up to the Maryland barn to put fruit into that warehouse when these guys get big enough. We've got New Jersey cattle over here coming into Philadelphia to feed the meat. I think I said we've got the Maryland wool coming down. Yeah, I said that already. So that's the kind of the Maryland end of things. Now up here in Pennsylvania, we've got another warehouse, and this one's kind of cool. Let me go down here. Look at. I think this is really cool. I love this. What we've got here is we've got this. I called it the Pennsylvania barn with grain, corn, beer, and milk. Now remember, this was originally just our milk source that ran down here originally to Parkersburg to feed the Johnny Hughes pass-through warehouse here, right? And then we added a little later, we added a line to run full from the milk up here to Pittsburgh to support the fact that we'd added a dairy in Pittsburgh, right? So we've got two lines coming down when this started. Now we're adding in this new cluster. So what we're going to do is put a warehouse here up in Pennsylvania. I called it the Pennsylvania barn. And in the Pennsylvania barn, warehouse, here we go. We've got grain, corn, and beer, right? So we set up delivery from over here. We've got this Buffalo grain corn station here that can pick up grain and corn. There's two lines. There's one prioritizing grain coming to the Pennsylvania barn, another one prioritizing corn coming to the Pennsylvania barn. And that'll get those two items, grain and corn. The beer will come from Pittsburgh because we already have a line going up to, coming down from here down to Pittsburgh. Well, when it goes back, it can take beer back. So now it's actually a more useful train now because it's going to haul stuff in both directions. And so we've got that going on. So now we've got grain, corn, beer. The milk's already there. So now we've got all these items here, all these items here. So all we need to do now, as I said, we've got to have the lines running from this warehouse to Philadelphia and Washington, and from this warehouse, Philadelphia, and to Washington. Now, there's a combination. This one, the thing that's cool about this one, I like this design. I think it's kind of cool. It's different, but I really like this. I love this thing. And I'll explain it to you in a second because I think it's the coolest thing about this whole thing is how I ended up doing this. So rather than used to have a bunch of the little shunt lines kind of making a very uneven looking track coming out through here. And I thought, well, why don't we do this? We've got a combination of trains that are going to run full out of here and trains that are just going to stop in here and take off. So what I thought about was, okay, let's just have a dedicated shunt line for each of the lines that have to run out of here or into here from over here to the west. we can have Philadelphia can be obviously just its own little stand out here. So it's got its own platform, platform 6. That's 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. Platform 7 that Philadelphia runs. So it's going to have a run full line going down from this warehouse down to Philadelphia. And then we'll have a run full line from here going down to DC. But all these lines that are over here on the west are the ones that are more interesting. So what I did was, I looked at this. Let's look at our signals. Now look at the signals. There's one line that comes out of this and goes this way to come out. And there are 5 lines that go in. And they represent the 5 different shunt lines for the 5 different lines that are going to be coming into or out of that warehouse, right? So what we've got here, let's just look at one. And I thought it'd be good if we optimized these together since it's been a while since we've done one, kind of as a review for those of you who are still maybe struggling with that. Hopefully this will make sense. Let's start with the city lines, okay? We need to be able to take stuff out of here and down to Philadelphia. We want it to run full. So that's going to be right here, this line right here. Okay? So we're looking at that one, and you'll notice it says run full, whatever product you like, right? Out of track 7. Okay? So that one's easy. You just say it's track 7, and sure enough, it's the only way you can go in and out of there. So that one was easy, right? Now, how many trains do we want to run? Well, let's just think of it like this. We got 4 products, grain, corn, beer, and milk, need to go to Philadelphia. So why don't we set it up as a demand or a supply, in this case, of 4, which means we need a frequency of 14. We have a 12.9, so we're good with 1 train, okay? Now let's do the DC one. It's a little more interesting. Now we want to run full out of here and go to DC down here, all right? So that line, it would be coming in this set right here, going to Washington, D.C. Here we go. Washington, D.C. Let's look at that line. Now, notice what it does. It comes down here and comes out of the barn and goes on its way. And when it comes back, it hits that waypoint right there. And that waypoint tells it to approach from this set of tracks right here, this single track, which is its shunt. So it's always going to shuttle off to this side. So that if we get in a situation where and it's always going to use the same platform 6. So we'll see how this works. I'm hoping it won't go in there and wait. I don't think it will. I think it'll wait back here. I'm almost certain it will. We'll find out. I haven't seen this run yet, and I think it's going to be fun to watch it. So this guy is going to wait back here, come in for his turn. He's always going to go to track number 6, right? Number 6 over here, which is that one. So he will come in like this and have a nice clean shot to get over to track number 6 and do his thing. And then he will, of course, come out all the way across and out that way, as do all the trains coming out. They all take that same exit. Okay, so that's the warehouse down to DC. We said we wanted a 14 frequency. We've got a 30, so we're going to need 2 times 14 is 28. We're going to need 3 trains to be fast enough to get that frequency we want going down to DC. So boom, there we go. We've got that one optimized. Now let's do the lines that are coming into this warehouse. Let's do the easiest one's the grain and corn. All right, the grain and corn is running full on this end and just coming right on out of there. So the way we've got it now, the only complexity here is there's 2 of them, right? Because we have one to prioritize grain, one to prioritize corn, so we don't get in a situation where we're only hauling grain down there, for example. So here's the first line. It is prioritizing the grain. We can see it coming down, and then it's going to hit this waypoint here, and we could move it a little. Let's move it a little further. Let's tell it to hit that waypoint right there. So it's going to hit this waypoint. That's going to tell it to come into the system on this track, and then of course go out on our exit. and it is running full from that end. It doesn't take anything back, so that was easy. Now, for grain and corn, if this is the corn line, if we think of the corn line, we've got two cities with grain. That's a frequency of 28. We've got 26.4. One train is enough, prioritizing grain. Then, similarly for the corn, we can see the same line here, but it uses the same waypoint. I'm going to move it. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to move that waypoint down here, further up. Not that it matters, but we'll move it up here. And we're going to set it after, there we go. Notice how if you put it down here, it's messed up because it needs to be hitting that waypoint on the way into the station, not coming out. Because now what it'll do, we'll have to go back and forth in order to hit that. So we're telling it now we're telling it come out of the corn. It's prioritizing corn. It's running full. And then hit that waypoint, which is going to put us on the correct set of tracks. It's going to go into the warehouse and empty the load and come back out, right? So it should be the same as the grain as far as the frequency. It's good enough. So we got our two trains running for grain and corn. And we've got our trains running down to DC, our trains to Pittsburgh. Now, the ones that are a little more complex. Let's look at the ones going to Parkersburg and to Pittsburgh. So the Parkersburg one's actually the easier of the two. Let's do it next. Parkersburg, right here, this guy right there, okay? He's a run full with milk, right? So we're going to go up here and look at him and say, okay, you're a freight train, but you're only going to haul milk. Because all this other stuff, he gets this when he's city lines with his cluster, and he gets the corn and grain from other places. We don't need Parkersburg siphoning off supplies that we really want to go to Washington and to Philadelphia, right? So we're going to run him out of, got him on track 1. He should be, let me think about that. He should be actually track 2. Track 1 is going to be the raw materials we just looked at, the grain and corn. So he's coming out of track 2, and then we want him, notice him, he's hitting a waypoint here, right? This was the one for the grain and corn. He's hitting this waypoint that gives him this shunt line. He'll wait here, he'll go in, he'll run out of track, what do we say, 2? Yeah, out of track 2. He'll run out of track 2, and he will wait there and fill up. His other trains will queue back here in their shunt line, and he'll take off, and there we go. We've got our milk line, and the only thing we had to do there is to make sure that we weren't taking all the other stuff back out of here, right? He doesn't need to be, we don't need beer going from Pittsburgh out to the warehouse and then coming back to Parkersburg. That's wrong, and we don't want to fight for these either. So Parkersburg's going to get milk out of there. That's it. But he's going to run full. Okay, so his pretty much life with the changes, his life is the same as it was before. So we've got his trains going. Okay, now the other one would be for for Pittsburgh. So we look at this guy here and we say, okay, Pittsburgh. Let's look at our train going to Pittsburgh. Right there it is. Okay, so it was originally set up to run milk down to that dairy industry in Pittsburgh. So the way we've got it set up here is we're saying, and it should actually be scooted over to track 3, out of track 3 or platform 3 in the Pennsylvania barn. We want it to only bring milk. We want to, and here, question, do we want it to run full? Answer, I don't think so. I think we're going to say, no, you don't have to be full. The reason being, we don't want to tie the delivery of the beer for DC and Philadelphia to Pittsburgh's ability to consume milk. Right? So we'll just do it as a take what you can get kind of a deal. It'll run out of track 3, and we can see it is hitting a waypoint Over here, there's your grain and corn. There's your, what was that? That was Parkersburg. That's Parkersburg. This one is Pittsburgh, right? And so he's good to go. He's running his 2 trains. Now, let's think about him from a point of view of he's running 2 trains because he needs that for the milk, but that's plenty to get the beer up here to the warehouse as well to support the 2 cities that are going to need his beer. All right, so he should be good. And then is there anything else coming out here? We did this. What are you? Virginia. Oh, this is the one that goes all the way down to Virginia. Yeah, I forgot about them. Okay. I had to cut out a whole bunch of this because I just got totally confused with the... There's one coming down here. We've got one more line coming down here besides to Washington and Philly. We've got a line that comes out of here to bring milk down here to the Virginia 3-city cluster, our little 1 city, 1 train setup. And the fact that this warehouse down here has the fruit on it, right? When I looked at the lines, I let that fruit throw me for a loop, thinking we had to take fruit down here to support this alcohol in Norfolk. Don't ask me. I just got totally confused. So let's start that one again. We've got this line that runs from the Pennsylvania barn down to Charlottesville to take milk into the Virginia system, right? So let's look at that one. It is Virginia grain veggies right there. Okay, you see I've got 5 trains on it. That's how confused I was. All right, so right now it's at 35 days. It's actually taking milk for 3 cities. There's no, you know what? It's 3 cities right now. So let's do a frequency of 18. 18 times 2 is 36. There we go. We'll run 2 trains. Now later, if we added a dairy industry down here anywhere, then we would need 3 more. We would need more milk in order to support that dairy. But that would be an adjustment you would make as you added the dairy to make sure you've got enough coming down here, right? Okay, so that's that line. Now we can look at it too and say, okay, you are platform 4. So this one was the grain and corn. This one is the Parkersburg. This one's Pittsburgh. This one is Charlottesville or Virginia. And then that actually leaves us with an extra one, 5. I kind of forgot you could use that first platform. Interesting. Okay, well, if we have an extra platform, that's quite all right. We'll have room to plug something else in there. But let me just double check these guys. I'll be right back. I'm going to double check which platforms I have each of these guys using, like the corn and grain and what have you. Well, here, just stay with me. The corn and grain, we're actually saying just go where you want to go, right? But actually, why don't we just say go to platform 1? All right. So that's the buffalo grain corn. And then let's do the other buffalo grain corn, which is this one. And we'll say on this end, use platform 1, same one, the same waypoint. That's beautiful. And go. And then for the Parkersburg was next, we'll have it be platform 2. Parkersburg freight. Pennsylvania barn, platform 2, perfect, running full. That's good. And then the Philadelphia should be like platform 7 or whatever that one is out there on the end. Yeah, it's good, running full. And then Pittsburgh should be platform 3. This is the grain corn. This is Parkersburg. This is Pittsburgh on 3. with its own waypoint. That's good, good, good. All right, and then the Virginia one, Pennsylvania barn down to Virginia, should be platform 4 with its own shunt line. Good, good. And Washington, D.C. should be platform 6, taking whatever you like, running full with its own shunt line out there on the end. And that's beautiful. All right, so now, there, those should all be good. I did talk about, I honestly don't remember now if I did the veggies. I don't think so. No, I'm pretty sure we did. So let's look here. We've got a train coming here, Maryland. The Maryland sugar veg. We don't have a train. Let's run a train from Maryland sugar vegetables into that warehouse, right? Okay. So we're going to make it a freight train, and we've got 2 products coming in there right now. Well, frequency of 2, we'd want a 28. 1 train will do just fine, right? Now, it's sugar and vegetables. So to get the vegetables, what we'll need is a train coming out of here, which I think I already have. Yes. Right here, going up to from the Virginia vegetables to the Maryland sugar vegetables, and that's to load the warehouse up here with vegetables so that this guy here that runs over to the barn will be able to take sugar or vegetables, whichever, over here. And we should be good to go with that. Now we could, later on, we could have 2 lines coming out of this, one prioritizing sugar, one prioritizing vegetables to make sure that you have everything running. And in fact, that would be a good practice. That would be a good thing to do. Just go from here to here and have it out of the same track. We're going to set one up prioritizing vegetables, right? And then I'm going to go look at the original one that we put in there to the Maryland barn, and we're going to prioritize sugar. Oh, and make it run full. That was a mistake. Make it run full with sugar. So between the 2, they'll just all only be hauling sugar right now, but as they grow, we'll start hauling vegetables as well. And we'll probably have some delays here for a while until this grows up. I'm preloading it with all the stuff you need. The other one I don't know that we've checked would be the fruit. Have we done this? I really don't remember now, but no harm in looking at it again. Virginia fruit out of track 2 from the Virginia fruit, running full, going to the barn, the Maryland barn, where dropping off wherever you like. And you don't bring anything back because you're just coming from the fruit, and 1 train is plenty there. Good deal. And then I think we did these lines. Did we or didn't we? I don't recall. So to Washington, D.C. What's it hauling? We didn't do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 things. 7. Let's call it a supply of demand. And it's not that much right now, but that's okay. This will be a little overkill, but that'll help us. It'll allow it to keep going longer before we need to adjust. So if we do a frequency of 7, 7 times 8 is 56. So we want, if we have a supply of 7, we want a frequency of 8. We've got a 9, so we're going to run 2 trains on that line that goes to DC, and they will just simply shunt or wait out here. And then over here to on the one going to Philadelphia, this line right here, we got the same deal. We want a frequency of 8. We're at 7.5. We should be good on that for now. All right. So that was a whole lot of talking. Let's run this and see what we've got. I'm going to be very interested in seeing how this works up here. But here we go. So a lot of trains queuing up here as we get started. But here we can see trains. We can see trains running off with logs going to DC. We should have logs somewhere in here. Right here's a train heading to Washington with logs, and then we should see this train down here. for a train game, it can be really hard to see the trains. That's the other way. It really is amazingly hard to see the trains sometimes. Oh yeah, here you go. Here you can see the meat headed for DC through the warehouse, and then over here we should see on that. Yeah, here's cloth being loaded up, headed over to Pittsburgh through that warehouse. Okay, cool. So that's going. We up here, we probably aren't seeing any action yet. See, these trains are just sitting here waiting, and what they're waiting on is for somebody to come and bring them something. So here's a whole bunch of grain headed to mostly Philadelphia, but a little bit of DC. And there's another train here kind of right behind it with corn, mostly Philadelphia, and a little bit of DC. And those ratios will change as we start to fill up Philadelphia's warehouse. So here you can see this stuff coming in, and you can see this guy starting to load the grain that has come in for Philadelphia. Now he's got a full load of some grain and some corn. He's going off to Philadelphia. The guy for DC's picked up the tiny little bit that's come here so far. That's okay, more's on its way. And we should have, what are you? Oh, this is the Parkersburg one coming back empty. See how he takes the proper line. He goes to the proper station. He's being serviced. And then he's going to start loading milk to go back down there to, now, notice that one, Parkersburg, but then it says Louisville. That's because he's going to that warehouse in Parkersburg. And remember, that warehouse serves Parkersburg, Louisville, and Pittsburgh, right? And here we go. There we go. Now the other thing about this is a 6-long gridiron. And it's going to work just fine. The key to it, there's a lot of sharing right in here. This is the main place where left goes to right and right goes to left, depending upon the direction you're going. But it's not, it should move beautifully for something like this. And it allows us to have five shunt lines. And see how the trains just immediately just go right in where they need. Everything's going. Look at this. Philadelphia's double tick growth. Washington, D.C. is climbing, right? It's starting to get its stuff slowly as it grows there. Now it's starting to grow. So we got DC growing. We got Philadelphia double tick growth. Stuff's flying in and out of everywhere. Our little complicated system here is working just fine. And if this is too much for you, crap, just use multiple stations here. There's no problem with that. I could have done that and made all this easier, but I kind of think this is cool. You know, it's a little super highway of track out in the country with a lot of interesting logic going on. So look how these trains just come in here. They don't bother each other. They just fly right in. Look at that. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. See, barely a hesitation as one comes out and one goes in. Look at that. Look at that. Gorgeous. All right, so we've got that working. I'm going to go away, let this run up to 40,000. I'll be right back. Now, it's April 1834, so we'll kind of see how long it takes us to get up there. Well, it shouldn't be long. We're getting 99.5 in Philly. We're getting 92.3 in DC. Now, one of the things that occurred to me just after I kind of went away and thought about this a second more and realized, because we've set this up as a 6-wide gridiron here, we actually have, you need 6 because you need an exit line and you need 5 input lines out here, right? So we need the 6 out here, the 6 plugs, 1 for the exit, 5 for the entrances, which means that you can accommodate actually 6 lines here, right? You got 5 shunt lines, but there's actually 6 platforms. So this one here for Philadelphia could actually be run out of one of these other lines here, or out of one of these other platforms, because we've got platform 1 is the grain and corn, 2 is Parkersburg, 3 is Pittsburgh, 4 is Virginia, 5 is Washington, D.C. Well, actually, I think 6. We use 6 for Washington, D.C. So 5 isn't being used by anybody, right? So if you really wanted to watch this and not let this get any bigger than it needed to be, you don't have to have 7 here. We could do the 6. It'd be super easy. In fact, let's just do that. Let's just move this over. We'll move this guy over to platform 5. Sure, I got, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. And plug it in like this. Reset our signals. And then we'll have to look at that line and make sure, because we explicitly set a platform on it, I think. From the Maryland barn to Philadelphia, this one right here. What we want to do with it now is tell it, it seems to be really confused. Why aren't you working? We may have to toss it in the trash can. I think we're going to. Pennsylvania barn to Philadelphia. Okay. And we're going to reset this, and we're going to go here, here, and we're going to say out of platform 5. See how platform 5 gets no use. And we're going to say run full, going down to Philadelphia. We don't care what platform you use in Philadelphia. And freight line with the Derwent, 13 days. What we say? 4. We need a frequency of 14. That's just barely fast enough. Let's give it another train. We had it at 1. We're going to bump it up to 2. Why not? Spam a train. There we go. Now that's working beautifully. So what we've done now is reduce. We don't need the extra platform out here, because we're taking advantage of the fact that this platform here, even though it's connected to this, because you need the 5 shunt lines out here plus the exit line. We've created 6 platforms, so we may as well use it. All right. So I will be back in a bit after this grows a little bit, and we'll wrap up this one. All right, welcome back. We have just hit 40,000 in Philadelphia. Washington, D.C. is at 38,000 with 97% growth. And remember, we're not using immigration offices, so they have grown very, very nicely. This whole thing has run beautifully. That one oil there, I forgot oil on this right here. That train's been waiting for a while. Never mind. That's one of those, never mind the man behind the curtain. He will eventually get his oil. And everything else is working beautifully. And in fact, quick note, down here, look at our little one city, one train deal. Charlottesville is at 100,000. I've had to put a university in there. Never did use libraries, and it's grown all the way to 100,000, still growing. We've got Big Lick running down here at 81,000. It's still growing, and I just now put the library in because I just totally forgot about them. And so it will get up to more like 71% demand and will keep growing and easily hit 100,000. Norfolk down here is at 81,000, still growing. I just put the library in. It will grow even more and do well. So this little one city, one train deal is working beautifully. Haven't even bothered to adjust it again from the 90,000, which we could do to keep it growing. But anyway, there's another excellent design that works. Now, here's our two city here is working absolutely beautifully. This guy up here is just as smooth as silk. I see no issues with it. Now, we're not running thousands of trains through this, but it's running very, very nicely. Everything's working in fine form here. And we're going to put clothing here. We're going to put a sawmill here in Philadelphia. So we will go industries, sawmill, Philadelphia here. It's got to feed 2 cities. We will bump it up big enough to feed 2 cities, which is a little overkill. And it's got a direct line from the logs, but to make sure on that, we're going to run a train from here to here. We're going to run it out of track, what track is that? Track 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is that 7? I can't see. I can't see. 6. It'd be track 6. And we're going to prioritize the lumber just to make sure that we've got trains that are hauling that lumber into that sawmill. It should not be an issue at all because we're running enough trains, but we'll just make absolutely certain by adding another train on there that prioritizes lumber. Let that go. And there we go. There's a whole bunch of lumber headed over to Philadelphia for that new sawmill. Now, what are we going to do about the sawmill? Well, you can see here we could easily add a freight station here, and we've got a freight station here, and run seed to seed line and share those goods, right? But I don't want to do that. I want to stay true to our design. So what we're going to do is go up here to this warehouse, and we're going to add planks, right? So now planks are going to go up here from Philadelphia and be put in that warehouse, and they'll be needed in Washington. So that means Washington now is going to actually need 5 goods coming down. So we're going to want the frequency of the line going down to Washington to be an 11, right? So let's just double check and make sure it's that fast. So we'll go up here, we'll grab the train going to Washington, D.C. right there. It needs to be an 11. 11 times 3 is 33. It's fast enough. We got enough trains on it. Okay? So there we go. Now we've added industry here, and we'll run this for just a moment more. It'll look at the demand satisfaction. We'll run it a little bit more and put a clothing industry, fashion industry in here. Bump it up to at least a level 2. There we go. And we'll go industries, fashion industry in DC, and we'll make it 0.8. We want it to be, actually, gonna have to overkill a little bit. Okay, so now we've got enough clothing. It's already going to this warehouse right here. Now, good news, bad news about this design. The good news is we were able to take 2 cities and effectively add them in and make them grow beautifully, right? The hole in this is because we don't have 3 cities, we're missing a couple of industries, right? We added 1 industry from Pittsburgh with the beer. Now we can actually add a dairy from Pittsburgh as well if we wanted to steal dairy from Pittsburgh, or we could steal something from down here easily, right? So, we got alcohol down here in Norfolk. We could run that up to the DC, Philadelphia area, do whatever we wanted to do. But if we didn't do anything like that, and we just did our barn desk plus 1, we would basically have 3, 6, plus 1. We'd have 7 industries plus 7 raw materials. So you get 14 goods in these 2 cities. They would still grow to a very large size, good size for you. They'd make a ton of money. The city lines that are running, between them would make a lot of money. Remember, we're running Fireflies, for goodness sake. But they would make a lot of money. You'd be in great shape. This would work well. So I'm very happy with this design, extremely happy with this. This worked out beautifully. Took a little bit of, I had to be careful with which line are you using, which shunt line, blah, blah, blah. But after kind of got over all that, everything worked quite nicely. And I'm very happy with the way that turned out. I just thought about one more thing you could do to save a little bit of money. No, that's not true. I started to say you could have 1 less line here, but you can't, because you got to have the 5 coming in. We're having 5 lines coming out of here going this way. But anyway, I really like this one. Hope you did too. There's our, well, we got our growth. Yeah, we already did that. Yeah, we already did the clothing. Okay, so we've got these 2 going. There's another design, another little thing for you to put in your toolbox. The Barn Dance Plus 1. Hope you enjoyed that. I hope it'll help you become a better player. I hope you'll like, comment, share, and subscribe, and join us for our next Railway Empire 2 video. Thank you.